Man, oh man, it's been like a while since I've done this. It's been a month. It's been a month. I kind of finished everything. I kind of watched pretty much most of the season. Um, I'd say like overall, it's I think it's pretty good. I think as for the animation, I feel like it has dimmed. This is better than last season, but I feel like over the years, I feel like the animation has dimmed ever since like season four, season three, season two, season one per se. I feel like My Hero over time has gotten more and more, I guess, more and more mid, I'd say. Less of the black lines. There's pretty much less of that. It's not a deterrent for me. It's just something that I look at. I just don't think it's what I wanted it to be. You know, you read the manga and you see all those black lines in every panel, and you always wonder to yourself, like, how would this look if it was in like anime form? And you really think it would look amazing. It's not bad. It's just very not terrible. I just felt like it was just mid for me, and that's just what I thought of the animation and pretty much everything. I was like, okay, the liberation arc, the war. The war part was like really good. As for the part with like Shigaraki, he's just out of control, and I love the miracle part and part with Endeavor. Endeavor really had a lot of character development here, a lot of relatability, and there was some of that in season four and in season five, but we really got to see him a lot more here, and so really, spotlight here is definitely Endeavor. When it comes to this arc, because you really feel where he's coming from. But as it progresses and we get into the Dark Deku stuff, I don't know. This is just me. This is just a me thing. When I first saw the one for all users and all this stuff, like the first power, right? Which was Black Whip. I thought it was very interesting in the first half. I really was in support of it. I thought it was pretty cool. It was a less it wasn't necessarily it wasn't necessarily, the quirk I expected him to receive, but a very interesting one, I'd say. But when you take that and you apply that to, something like Fajin and all this other stuff, as progresses, I felt like he was just like collecting the chaos emeralds. It's just here it kind of makes him overpowered and broken, but it's like what can you really expect here? Though I gotta say, the first and second opening does slap hard. I ain't gonna lie. Over the course, I was a little bit bummed out at the fact that he looked less dark, less detailed as he was in the manga. I was a little bit taken aback. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Because don't get me wrong, he is battle damaged. He is his attire is very battle damaged. It's like you know, it's a really dark part. Um, it's really dark, but as it progresses, you just don't really like. I don't feel it anymore. What I witnessed in the manga was far more darker in comparison to what I witnessed in the anime. I'm not mad about that. I'm just saying the appearance the appearance differences um is a really big thing. Like in the manga, there's a lot more black lines absolutely everywhere. It looks insane. And when you take that and you look at the animated version, it's not necessarily terrible. It's just a lot more brighter, I guess lighter and more softer in comparison with the colors and less black lines, obviously. I thought the arc was, I thought it was okay. Wasn't bad, but I thought it was okay. For me, when I watched it, it kind of just finished quickly. When watching it, his fight with Muscular, mm, I thought it was okay. Thought it was all right in terms of an arc. I thought it was all right. As for the apology from Bucko, I thought it was a little bit strange. It was like I don't think it was terrible. I just didn't know why he'd want to give an apology. Like, isn't the purpose of his character to benefit from being better and being superior in comparison to someone like someone like Midoriya? Like, if he just apologizes and says, "I did this because of trauma and all this stuff," if he apologizes, that just makes him just like him. His purpose was to be better than him. That's why his basic, like, I mean, like in season 5, Bago was just wasting people. So when you see someone like him, who's pretty much the best of the best, when you see someone like him belittle himself to be on the same side of someone that is, I think, is a little bit off character. I think it's concerning. I mean, he has grown in terms of character, so I'm not surprised of the apology. I just think I honestly just dismiss it because it just seems so off character. That's essentially like what I'm getting at. It's like it just felt so like off. I honestly I thought it was just I thought it was like off character. I thought the muscular fight was it was dope. Not the my most favorite, but I thought it was dope. This is just all this stuff I'm saying is just based off my experience. This isn't like for someone to take and think this is like the truth. This is just what I'm thinking. This is just off my experience. Just pretty interesting, and then it was okay. I felt like when I watched him, put on the mask and see him get darker over time, I felt like he could have benefited from this. Being a person who's extremely empathetic and giving and forgiving all the time, seeing someone like him push himself that way, it makes you feel sad. And so when an arc like this arises, it makes you feel like, okay, this is his time to finally take the initiative. So when the arc is treated like, oh, we're your friends, you shouldn't do this alone, I can understand it, but I don't think they understand. His quirk isn't a singular quirk, it's a quirk with multiple different quirks. Because of that, All For One essentially wants to take his quirk. He wants to take his quirk for himself to basically reach a certain point with his own quirk. Um, and if Midoriya brings his friends along with him, that's just giving All For One more quirks to steal. Therefore, basically making them like it's just bringing more casualties. So if he doesn't bring his friends along with him, that doesn't give All For One the edge. So if he just fights him one on one, that makes more sense. If he brings his friends along with him, sure they may have an edge, but it's just gonna make him get more quirks to steal. We literally see this happen. We literally see this happen in the actual war battle. And so it just seems like his friends don't understand to me because they're literally just trying to change his mind constantly about this decision. When his quirk is literally carved in this entire mindset where he has to fight All For One alone. That's literally the entire purpose of his quirk. So for his friends to try and change his mind doesn't really make much sense. Like, I get it, you guys are his friends, but like, come on. I'd expect you guys to essentially understand where he's coming from. Not to say that everyone else is, powerless, but in terms of being focused to the plot, especially with an arc like this, it would make sense for him to go on his own. Especially with the fact that he's like working with like pro heroes. So, but I think it was like relatively like okay, not bad for an arc, just okay. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like for me, like My Hero over time has just gotten I feel like it's gotten like weaker, not just with the anime, but I think the source material it has gotten less and less what it was like originally. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's happening with it. I haven't even been like reading the manga, but I read like a chapter like a week ago, and it felt as if like over time things are just not making sense. Like you have an arc like this that appears, and he goes from okay, he goes from friends and all this stuff to dark mode, and then back to friends, and then dark mode again. I don't necessarily understand it, but maybe you guys can make sense of what I'm talking about. I just feel like the manga over time has gotten more and more, I guess, confusing. It doesn't necessarily make sense, like what's happening. Like the events make sense. As for his character, not so much. And the same can go for other characters as well. Um, I think relatively is okay season. I think out of 8, I'd give it like a 6. Not my most favorite season. Like I love 4 so much because of how much they like put into 4. Like 4 was just beautiful. The finale was so good. I feel like over time it's just gotten like less and less interesting for me. Not a terrible anime. It's just gotten less and less interesting. Things are not necessarily making sense. So not really my most favorite season, but I'd say the Liberation War. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. Maybe it's not. Um, but the war part of the season is really where it's at because you really see all the characters put themselves to the test. You see a lot of casualties, and yeah, it's really interesting. I think. So yeah, overall, let's say like a 6 out of 8, and yeah.